obviously, we just learned about this FTC antitrust investigation into Facebook on top of this settlement news that we heard today. How advanced is this antitrust investigation, and can you tell us anything about what you're exploring?
Emily, thanks for having me. The details of what we do in terms of investigations, and in general, even the existence of those investigations, is confidential, and we don't reveal it. In this case, because Facebook has publicly announced that they are the subject of a probe, I can confirm that there is a probe.
So it is widely known that, for example, Facebook used data that it tracked from its own users to decide whether or not to buy Instagram, to understand that Instagram was becoming popular. Do you think you will use some of the details that you learned as a result of the privacy investigation in the antitrust investigation?
Emily, again, unfortunately, because it's an ongoing investigation, other than confirming its existence, there's nothing that I can say.
All right. So let's talk about the FTC settlement, which I said earlier the vote was along party lines. It was not along party lines. However, can you tell us how the FTC came to this decision, came to the terms of the settlement that we heard today?
Yeah. In 2012, Facebook committed to us and to the American people that would take certain steps with respect to privacy. In particular, that it wouldn't misrepresent the kinds of sharing that was going on with app developers and the kinds of control that Facebook users had over data that they gave to Facebook. It also committed to having a reasonable privacy program. But Facebook broke those promises. It also broke a few other promises. We're here today because we looked at what Facebook had done, and we wanted to send an important message about adherence to FTC orders and commitments to privacy.
So Mark Zuckerberg will now have to personally certify that Facebook is complying with its new privacy policies. How would you like to see his management of the company change?
I think, above all, what we would like to see is a greater focus at Facebook on privacy. That includes Mr. Zuckerberg, and under the terms of the order, he's going to have to focus more on privacy. But it isn't just about Mark Zuckerberg. What this order requires, beyond the $5 billion fine, is attention to privacy at every level of the company. Engineers who are working on projects are going to have to think about the privacy impact of what they do. And if they choose not to protect privacy, they're going to have to explain why. And this goes all the way up to the board of directors. The board is going to have a new privacy committee, which is going to have ultimate authority to oversee privacy at Facebook.
So why not fine Zuckerberg directly or do more to limit his personal authority?
As I said before, this case is not just about Mark Zuckerberg. This case is about Facebook in general. Mark Zuckerberg is a very important person at that company, but he is by no means the only one. We want people up and down the line at Facebook to be focused on privacy.
Now, there are a lot of critics out there who say a $5 billion fine is not enough, and secondly, that the structural changes required here are also not enough. One of your colleagues, Commissioner Rohit Chopra, who voted against the settlement, says it imposes no meaningful changes to the company's structure or financial incentives, which led to these violations. Instead, the order allows Facebook to decide for itself how much information it can harvest from users and what it can do with that information, as long as it creates a paper trail. What's your response to that?
To me, there are two really important points here. The first is this. What we do at the FTC is law enforcement. And so what we look at in any case is what do the facts show, and what are the legal obligations, and did the company break the law? And we try to remediate the violations of the law. We don't come in and simply tell the company what to do about everything. There are a lot of people in America who have real concern about how Facebook conducts itself. That's a fair conversation. It's a conversation that goes on all the time in homes across the country, and critically right now in Congress, which is thinking about privacy legislation. But what Facebook was doing in terms of the ad practices or whatever isn't what this case is about. This case is about the misrepresentations that it made to users about privacy and several other things we've talked about. And critically, that's what we're aiming to remedy.